my name is Marie Ramsey and I'm from Transformation to 5D. The patriarchy era is ending. It's in its death throes. What is coming next is a completely new era. And the difference is that in the old era, we were given structures because we hadn't evolved enough to be able to create our own structures. And so we had the matriarchy and then we had the patriarchy. Now that we've experienced both of those, we are evolved enough to be able to create our own future, our own next structure of harmony and balance, of the masculine and the feminine energies that neither dominates, but they work together in harmony and balance. The way I see the energies is the feminine energy is the nurturing energy. The masculine energy is the protector energy. The feminine energy is self-love. The masculine energy is the boundaries we put around that self-love to stop others taking it away from us or trying to make us feel powerless. And so when they're in harmony and balance, what we have is self-love and boundaries. It's not about gender. We created the metaphor of gender for the war between the masculine and the feminine. We've created many experiences for the war between dominant and weak. And this is so that we could learn. We've had experiences as being the dominant power. We've had experiences being the underdog, the harmed, weak power. We've had experiences of taking away from others. We've had experiences of having things taken away from us. This is all about the perspective of understanding. Think of every scenario. We need to experience and understand all the different perspectives, all the different relationships with different people. You will transition. You will start off as a baby, totally dependent upon your parents. You'll move through childhood, gaining your independence bit by bit, learning. It could be a nice, easy childhood, a happy childhood. It could be a very traumatic one. You'll move into adulthood as you get more power. As you move through your teen years, you're seeing the hypocrisy, the lies. As you move into young adulthood, you're taking on more responsibility for yourself. As you go on further into adulthood, you're starting to see the consequences of your actions more and more as your children become adults themselves. You start to see yourself and what you taught them reflected back to you. You start to see the imperfections of who you are. As you become older, go into old age, you start to see what's your legacy? What have I created in this world? It's more important to look back at your creation, your legacy, and you might find that you've lived in fear your whole life. You've allowed others to tell you what to do your whole life. You've never fulfilled any dreams of your own. So it's about what is your journey? The patriarchy, the matriarchy, the balance between the masculine, the feminine. How do you want to live and create in your life? Do you want to use discrimination as a tool to punish others? Because that could be you. Is that how you want to feel? In every way that you interact with others, if you were them, is that how you would want to feel? So when we change and understand perspectives, perhaps a person is being mean to you. Maybe they're just having a bad day and you need to have some compassion for them. Or maybe you need to set a boundary and say, I'm sorry, that's disrespectful. That's not acceptable behavior. It's up to you to choose between compassion and boundary. You don't let someone cross that boundary and harm you. But you may have some compassion and give them some leeway. It's up to you. How do you have self-love? Put yourself first. You are the masculine. You are the feminine. You are your own protector. You are your own nurturer. If you can't do that for yourself, how can you do that for others? We are gender biased. We think that the male has to be the masculine, the protector. But who's nurturing him? If he has to rely on a female to nurture him, he may go a long time without being nurtured. If his relationship breaks up because he was expecting too much, or for any other reason, or maybe she just wasn't a nurturing kind of person, if he hasn't got a female in his life to nurture him, he has to learn to nurture himself and look after himself. Just like the woman has to learn to protect herself and not always have a man in her life to protect herself. If you look under the patriarchy system, the male relied on his mother to nurture him and then his wife. The female relied on her father to protect her and then her husband. Independence is learning that we can nurture and protect ourselves. It does not mean we don't need a relationship. It just means that we are capable of nurturing and protecting ourselves. And our relationships are going to be much healthier because we are not relying on that other person to nurture or protect us. What happens when the woman is exhausted? She's working, she's got young children. She hasn't got the energy to nurture him. Who's nurturing her? What happens when the man is got so overwhelmed with responsibilities? He's working, he's got to provide the finances, he's got wife and children dependent upon him. Who's protecting him? And this is where our relationships break down, our families break down. Because we are so dependent upon the other person to provide for us what we don't provide for ourselves. When we learn to be our own nurturer and protector in a healthy way of self-love and boundaries, then we learn to push back. We learn to say no. We learn to protect ourselves. When the boss says, I need you to do overtime, I go, that's great. You need that, but not today. I have family that have needs as well. I need time for myself. Let's negotiate and arrange something else. Maybe you do the overtime and come in late the next day. Maybe the money from the overtime is worth it because now you can do something for yourself or for your family that you love. It's about balance and harmony. Does not mean that you don't do things. It means that it's a choice instead of a must or a have to. It means that you're doing it out of love, out of balance and harmony, instead of out of fear. And so it's important that we put the patriarchy and the matriarchy back into balance. They showed us the best and the worst of each. We saw the strength of women in the matriarchy. We go back to the Amazon warrior. We saw the strength of the woman when she fights for what she believes in. In the patriarchy, we saw the man who could nurture and care for his family. He needs to nurture and care for himself as well, and not look to women always to provide that. Because if he's looking for it from elsewhere, who's nurturing the women? If the man is always being looked to provide the protection, who's protecting him? We do it in balance and harmony with each other. Sometimes you'll feel down and you need someone to nurture you or protect you. And that is something you do out of love and compassion for each other. But if it is a full-time job, it's exhausting. And this is where some people do not know how to protect themselves. And they go seeking someone to protect them, and then next thing they're being controlled by that person. Some people do not know how to nurture themselves, and so they find love and nurturing from someone, and next thing they're being controlled by that. When we don't know how to do it for ourselves, we risk giving away our power to the person that provides it to us. Instead of doing that, look at how we can learn from them. When someone gives us security and teaches us how to protect ourselves, then we learn to protect ourselves. Maybe as a child you never knew how to. You had parents that wanted you to feel vulnerable so that they could control you and take away your power. Now you find someone in your life who will teach you how to stand in your power. Learn from it. Grow. This is a part of the life lessons. People show us what we need to learn when we don't have it ourselves. And we learn from them. And we're grateful because they taught us that. That is what the life lessons are about. The matriarchy, the patriarchy, were just the frameworks for the schools. The school we've been in has been a school of fear. Learning about fear. Learning about survival. Learning to understand that fear is only one part of us. It belongs in the primitive brain. When we understand fear, then we can decide how we use fear instead of being controlled by fear. Freedom is the full knowledge and wisdom of being able to take all the resources available to you and use them in the best interests of yourself and others. Freedom is not being dominated or controlled by anyone else. It is knowing that you stand in your power. You are in the I am. I am me. And that is good enough. Might not be perfect because it's still a student learning about life, but it's good enough. I don't have to change for other people. I change and grow because that is the journey I'm on. That's who I want to be, and I learn from other people. But I'm not here to please other people. I'm here for me, for my story, for my growth, for my learning, for my wisdom, until I reach that point where I have so much wisdom, I don't need to be in school anymore. And so the first part of this school is the school of fear. When we move into the new world, it will be the school of love. Learning to explore love more, understand all the different aspects of love. But to do that, we had to understand fear. Because the fear of love being taken away from us, the fear of losing love, is what has allowed us to give away our power. When we live in fear of not having love anymore, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, they're all the things that harm us. They're all the lessons that we have to learn. And so fear is a very important school. And that's why some people will not be able to transition out of this school. There will be a new school created. And people will be able to stay in that school and do their lessons. So that is the splitting of the world into two schools. Some have finished and understand fear enough to move into the new school of love. Others will stay in the school of fear, but it will not be toxic like the one is today. It will be a reset. And that's where people in that school will be given the lessons to help them move through and understand fear and take back their power, learn about self-love, learn about setting boundaries, but in a less toxic environment, because this school has become too toxic, and that's why it cannot continue. So the patriarchy is coming to an end. It is in its death throes, and it will, like anything in its death throes, fight very hard to survive. But it cannot survive. There is a war between the elite who want to control the world for power and money, and the patriarchy that wants to protect the world but dominate and control in the process. And you see this playing out where there is a movement to control and take away women's rights because they want to protect us from the elite. And we need to look at that and say, well, let's break down all the systems that the elite have created. Happy to do that. Happy to get rid of the health systems, the legal systems, the education systems that have been created to turn us into fodder for their profit-making machines. The political systems need to change as well, because they're just puppets. Happy to get rid of all of that and transform them into new systems that help us grow and evolve, but not at the price of controlling women and children and taking away our freedom and power. Everyone must transform into the new systems as equals. Otherwise, the patriarchy is still there. It is not benevolent anymore. We do not even want a benevolent patriarchy. We want a world of harmony and balance, where there is no discrimination. There is huge amount of diversity. There is freedom to live as you want when you're not harming anyone else. We need to set our goals higher than having men look after women and tell them how they behave and what they're allowed to do. That is an old era that cannot exist again. Not in the new world. Maybe in the old world, in the reset of the old world, they will go back to that kind of system. Who knows? But in the new world, it cannot exist. The new world is about freedom. Freedom for everyone to step into the I am. Freedom for everyone to become creators, manifestors of love, joy, and abundance. You can't do that if you've got someone else telling you how to behave and what to do. So freedom means we do not sacrifice ourselves to have someone look after us. We do not sacrifice our rights to let someone else dominate and control us. It means we stand in our power. No one has control over anyone else. No one can manipulate or do any of the toxic behaviors to anyone else. We are all equals. I am the same as you. You are the same as me. We all have the same potential. Our realities are what we choose, but we have the potential to be more, to expand, to change, to manifest. And when someone takes that away from us, that doesn't exist anymore in the new world. That's the old world. So the school is transitioning. It is opening up into a new world school of love, freedom, harmony and balance. The patriarchy is dying. And it's going through the death throes. So if that upsets you, step aside. Observe from a distance. Don't get involved in the drama. Just watch it play out. It is a necessary process that has to happen for people to awaken. There are many people in this world who have not awakened yet, and they need to see a lot more tragedy and disaster before they will. The sooner people awaken, the less tragedy and disaster that's required. But we are going to go through a pathway of more tragedy and disaster purely to help people awaken. Help them understand that the old world cannot exist as it did anymore. It must die. And that we are transitioning into two new worlds. One new world of love, and the other new world is a reset of the school of fear. You can go into either one, whichever you are comfortable with, whichever is your level of evolution as a soul, as a human. Doesn't matter. But we cannot continue in a world of toxic behavior. Thank you. Marie Ramsey from Transformation to 5D. You'll find my websites in the description below. My Wisdom of Love Academy is where I have courses, and my Transformation to 5D is where I have services to help you transform with your trauma and whatever else you need help with. Thank you. Take care. Hello, I'm Marie Ramsey. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, a resource therapist, and a counsellor. I specialise in trauma healing because trauma is the basis of anxiety, depression, and most mental and physical illnesses. It is what blocks us from becoming the healthy, happy person full of love, joy, and abundance. And so it is important to heal trauma in the transformation process. You can book sessions with me if you would like through my website transformationto5d.com. They're available online via Zoom and face-to-face in Brisbane, Australia. I'm also a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner in the Dolores Cannon style, and this is available face-to-face in Brisbane, Australia. It is a process of regressing into past lives, then talking to the higher self, and then bringing in the white lights for healing. It is an incredible experience, the quantum healing process. I am running courses on my Wisdom of Love Academy, and they are available self-paced or via Zoom in groups. In future, I'll be running workshops and retreats in different places around the world, And so if you would like to keep up to date with what is happening, subscribe to my newsletter so I can let you know the latest. I'm also willing to work with other people if they would like me to come and talk in their organisations or to run workshops and retreats with them in partnership. I hope that you are finding this podcast helpful, and if there is more topics that you would like me to cover or questions that you have, please put them in the comments or email them to me so that I can answer that in future podcasts. Together we are creating a healing community that is going to be able to transform into the new world of 5D, of love, joy and abundance. I welcome you to this community, and I hope that you come on this journey with us of transformation so that you too can pass through the portal into the new world. Thank you.